Hi, this is Zak Mir with the Cryptocurrencies review here at Vox Markets. It's Sunday, the 16th of May. Starting off as usual with Bitcoin, and we've got this broadening triangle here, which so far looks to have worked, at least in terms of the support over the last week. The giveaway that that triangle is in place is the rebound, intraday rebound, earlier in the week, the 13th of May, which took this market down to 45,700, but it hit that line there from March, and that gives us comfort that we've got the triangle in place. And that the resolution of this triangle will be that we'll eventually hit 70,000, which is the top of that formation with that February resistance line projection. Time frame on that, maybe as soon as the end of next month, if we're lucky. For those who want more evidence of recovery, well, there's an uptrend line there, which was broken at 52,000, so an end-of-day close above that might be something to use as a momentum trigger. Otherwise, obviously, the 50-day moving average of 56,000. But really, the longer we stay above that old $47,004 low from the end of April, the greater the chance of a lasting recovery for this market. End-of-day close today above that level would be the first sign that we've actually we're back on our way on a reasonable bullish tack. Going on to Ethereum, where things have not been quite as hairy in terms of the bull argument. Ethereum here within this steep rising trend channel from the end of March. Floor of the channel currently around 3,500, and while we're above that on an end-of-day close basis, now upgrading the target there towards the 5,000 level, and looking for that hopefully as soon as the end of next month. In terms of what might hurt this market, obviously we are a long way above the 50-day moving average there at 2680. But the good news here is that the RSI is only at 60, which is very, very modest indeed, leaves a lot of technical gas in the tank for a potential move to the upside. At this stage, I suppose the early warning would be an end-of-day close back below 3,500, and that could possibly take this market back to sort of 2,700, which was late April resistance. But at the moment, looks pretty comfortable within that trend channel from March, and above 35, looking to 5,000 rather, maybe 50,000 is a bit excessive, 5,000 by the end of next month. On to Bitcoin Cash here. Looks like a case of old resistance becoming a new support. Bit of an overlap there. That peak there at 12.15, the low in the last week down at 11.36, but it does still look as though, I suppose, closing resistance became new support for this market. We've got that 11.36 low. Above that on an end-of-day close basis, really looking for 1,600 again. Third time lucky maybe for this market to break 1,600 and go to a new level to the upside. What that could be, if you are an optimist, then would probably be towards the line that I'm drawing at the moment. So that's up towards the 1,950 or 2,000 level over the next couple of months, maybe by the end of July on that kind of scenario. But the way things are moving at the moment, time frames actually can either be much too long or much too short. But let's say end of July for 2,000 on Bitcoin Cash is a possibility. If you're looking for a momentum trigger, obviously Friday's peak around 1360 would be a decent one for at least a retest of 1,600 on that market. On to a market, I was going to say a stock, a market, a crypto, which is doing really well at the moment. Cardano surged to new highs here, broke a previous target that we had here around $2.20, so above $2.20. Looking now as high as $2.80 by the end of next month. And the way things are going, maybe by the end of this month could be a reasonable thing to say. Unlikely, I suppose, now that we'll fall below 220, but if we do, I suppose the next level down will be around 180. And any dips towards that area, I think, would be a decent buy on the dip opportunity, especially given the way that the $1.50 to $2 area has or was resistance for quite some time for this market. So any dips towards that $1.80, $2 area, if we get them on any rug pull, could be worth investigating for Cardano. On to Binance, which has been not quite in the same category as Cardano, the most bullish of situations, but we've still got a situation where there's a rising trend channel that's been in place since the beginning of the year. Floor of the channel, the near-term support, at least the 50-day moving average at $512. So while there's no end-of-day close back below that, we're looking for 850, which is the top of the January trend channel. That could be seen as soon as perhaps the end of June. In terms of support, if we break 512, then we've got the floor of the channel from the beginning of the year around 440. But at this stage, it would be surprising if there was any lasting dip below the 50-day line. You can see the 50-day line. Well, it wasn't even touched actually in March on that dip, and hasn't really been touched since back at the end of January. So this market, if anything, it looks like it's going to accelerate towards potential $830 to $850 target over the next 4 to 6 weeks. So pretty good news there on Binance. On to market which has been slightly more difficult, a bit more messy here. We had a sort of rising wedge type situation, but we didn't really sort of follow through on that. The good news with Monero is that it's managed to remain well above the 50-day line at $351 on the sort of the recent pullback for this market. The peak obviously around 518 in the first week of this month, and while we're above the low of late last week, 371 on an end of day close basis, we're looking for a retest of the 520 zone, perhaps by the end of next month. All the sort of near-term signals are good in the sense that the 50-day moving average rising sharply at 353, and a good solid run there for the rising 200-day line at 212. But if there was any rug pull, then the 50-day line, probably the support test area that one would expect below 371. We had a couple of tests, one in the end of March and one during the end of February for the 50-day line. So something like that would be expected if there was any temporary weakness for that market. On to Chainlink, where it's again support above the 50-day line. Here we've got the 50-day line at $37.50, and above that looking towards $56, $57 at the top of this, I suppose you call it a broadening triangle, but it's more like a rising trend channel, in fact, from back in November. Below the 50-day line, the risk of a move back towards the low 30s, 34, 33, but at this stage, given the way that we've had the last probe down to what was that, around the $39 level, I would be surprised if there's any lasting setback below that particular level. On to Litecoin, where again, sort of a steady progress, I suppose is the name of the game over the last post-October period. Good support, well above the 50-day moving average here, so the last low there around 292. Above that on an end-of-day close basis, we are expecting to retest $400 plus over the next 2 to 4 weeks, which was the initial May resistance. Interesting market now for Ripple. Nice rebound, well, two rebounds really in the recent past above the 50-day line. 50-day line now at around the $1.25 level. Above that, we're looking for a retest of the last peak here towards $1.76. The big move, I suppose, if you're waiting for a momentum trigger, would be a break of that line, that April resistance line. That's currently around $1.65. So above 165, looking for not only a retest of the initial 176, but as high as the top of the rising trend channel from the end of November. That is promising as a target as high as $2.60 rather, and that could be seen as soon as the end of next month. So a very bullish day on many of these maRkets. Next up is Stella, which is also trying to prove my point. End of day close, I suppose, above the initial May resistance. That was at 78 cents. If we can get that either today, early this week, then we're looking for a next fresh leg up for this market for Stella, up to around $1.05. And that's a reasonable target there for the end of next month. In terms of support, I suppose the last swing low there and the 50-day moving average around 55 cents, really the place to look at. But it would be surprising if this market even stayed below 60 cents for any given length of time. On to Polkadot as we enter the home stretch of this rather extended crypto digital review. Here we've got a nice rising trend channel that's been in place since the middle of February, looking for at least $52 initially, and that should be seen over the next few days. If you're a fan of this market and looking for higher highs and greater achievements, then probably at this stage the big figure target here up towards the $80 area, which is a line of resistance from back in December, $80 to $85. That could be seen if we get a decent breakout as soon as the end of next month. Otherwise, maybe wait for July. In terms of support, $38 and the 50-day line on an end-of-day close basis should just about cover it. Although obviously one might be better to allow for the floor of the channel there at $35 if you can manage that. But at least at this stage, looks like we're well supported above the 50-day line, and an $85 target over the near term seems to be reasonable. Now we go on to Dogecoin, which is obviously now synonymous with Elon Musk. You could probably call it Elon Coin now. Here we've had, we hit our initial target there, which was derived, well, it was actually set out when we were still in the sort of 20s and 30 cents area. So we hit that line of resistance from January. Current situation, we're trading in the aftermath of a test of old resistance, 44 cents, as new support. Obviously, there was an overshoot towards 35, but that's nothing unusual. Current situation is that while we're above while we're above the initial, that April resistance at 44 cents, on an end-of-day close basis, we're looking for a retest of 70 cents plus for this market, perhaps as soon as the end of May. So even after all the volatility, still looking pretty strong for this market. And in fact, one could upgrade that resistance line projection towards 80 cents while at least while we're above 45 cents. Unusual to have a request for a market, but this one burst is absolutely it's amazing. Really makes Dogecoin look quite pedestrian. Here we've had a beautiful breakout over the weekend through the old resistance for this market. That was around the 1.8 cents level. Currently at we're just shy of 2.5 cents, but above 1.8 cents, looking for at least 4 cents on this market, and that could be seen as soon as the end of this month. So very impressive indeed. This stage only really back below around the 1.15 cents or 1.2 cents area rather would really delay the upside scenario. But this looks like a market with these solid green candles through resistance. That looks like a market that's not going to go or retrace in any significant way. I suppose if there is a dip back towards the 2 cents area, that might offer an opportunity for some who've missed the boat so far. But 4 cents looks like it's pretty well nailed on for burst coin fans over the near term. That's it from me today. More updates later in the week.